It's a first warning weather day as snow continues to fall across western Mass. Good Tuesday evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Chris Pisano. The snow tonight is making the commute a very slippery and tricky one, that's for sure. We have team coverage for you on today's snowfall. And for a look at what to expect throughout the evening, let's begin with meteorologist Janna Brown. Janna?
Chris, winter weather advisories are expected to continue all the way through early tomorrow morning. So we are expecting that hazardous travel to last during the overnight hours and possibly even through the Wednesday morning commute. So just keep that in mind as you prep for your day. Most of the accumulating snow will actually occur before midnight, but scattered snow showers and flurries will continue on and off through the morning with temperatures staying below freezing. The radar right now showing a good clip of snow falling across the Pioneer Valley. The Berkshires, though, it seems like the snow is starting to lighten up just a little bit. We're seeing some breaks here on the radar, indicating a little bit of dry air is working in. But we do have a fairly steady clip of snow expected through, again, roughly midnight. Then that'll taper off to some light snow showers and flurries. Temperatures right now down to 26 degrees as we look out to our MGM Skycam, which is very wintry. A bit of a wind chill, wind picking up in Westfield at about 6 miles an hour. So that's pulling the wind chill down into the teens. But everybody is in the 20s right now. So it is cold for sure. A general 3 to 5 inches of snow in total expected through tomorrow morning, but up to 6 inches is possible getting onto the western slopes of the Berkshires. And that's where we're expecting the most snow. But like we've been talking about all afternoon and evening, it's not really that heavy wet snow. We're going to head out to meteorologist Maher, who's here in Springfield, who has an update on how things are looking at this time. Don?
All right, Jenna, it's probably coming down the hardest we've seen it all evening long. It's actually coming down now at a pretty good clip here outside our Liberty Street studio. And as we've been talking about all evening long, it looks like as we move through the next couple of hours heading up and towards midnight, that's when it looks like we will see the bulk of the accumulation. And this is not going to be a blockbuster storm by any event. We are talking about a couple of inches of snow here in the valley, some higher amounts as you get up towards those higher elevations. So it looks like we are going to have a little bit of cleanup to do as everything winds on down. But this is going to be the snow that's a little bit easier to move around. We're not talking about that heavy wet snow, so that is certainly some good news. And it's also good news that we're not talking about that heavy wet snow, and we're not really dealing with much in the way of wind, so we don't really have a power outage threat with this storm. But what we do have are some snow-covered roads. In fact, Liberty Street behind me is once again becoming snow-covered. So if you are heading out this evening or you are going to be heading home, give yourself plenty of extra time to account for the fact that those secondary roadways certainly are going to be on the slick side. Of course, more coming up in just a couple of minutes from now. For now, live in Springfield, first warning meteorologist Don Maher. Chris, I'll send it back to you in studio.
Don, great information. Thank you for that. And our team coverage continues for you tonight with the big decision school superintendents have to make to call for a snow day or not. Much different in the pandemic when many districts are already either all remote or can quickly switch to all remote, eliminating then the need to take a snow day. Western Mass News reporter Sarah Grinelli joins us live with more on that. Sarah.
Chris, well, the Ludlow School Department was one of the few school districts that back in December gave their students an actual snow day, even though they were still remote. We spoke with parents who say they were happy about this decision and are hopeful that tomorrow their kids will have another snow day as well. December's major snowstorm dumped buckets of snow in western Mass, leaving 2 of James Sofin's 3 kids to head outside and make snow angels.
They got to go outside and play, which they're normally, in front of their computers all day.
Sofin's 3 children go to Ludlow Public Schools. Ludlow is one community in western Mass that lets students enjoy a snow day, even though they learn remotely.
I think it's good that children do get some extra time to play, especially during the pandemic we're in, where they have to focus so much on maintaining their school, from the distancing learning, which I can imagine is pretty difficult.
Another woman we spoke with has 2 great-grandchildren who also go to school in Ludlow. She too says they enjoyed the day off.
I think it's great because had they been in school, they would have given them the day off.
For Sopin, he tells Western Mass News he's all in for a snow day on Wednesday if the snow really piles up.
Why not? What's an extra day added on to this school year? Let them be kids.
So we called the superintendent's office in Ludlow to see if students will have a snow day tomorrow. They said they're just not sure yet. They got to keep an eye on the roads and the snow, but they'll definitely keep us posted by 5 a.m. tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that. Live in Chicopee, I'm Sarah Granelli for Western Mass News.
And Sarah, thank you for that. Certainly a different year for snow days, that's for sure. And we have you covered from the start of this storm until the very end. So be sure to join us early tomorrow morning. We're going on air at 4:30 a.m. on all 3 networks for Western Mass News. Now to breaking news tonight, as fire crews in Greenfield are busy fighting a house fire that officials say started after an explosion. Firefighters have been on Prospect Street in Greenfield all afternoon, along with a crane now demolishing that house. As the smoke has consistently been coming out of the house, firefighters have been spraying it with water through the windows, trying to put out the flames. Multiple fire agencies now on scene. Greenfield Fire says that house was vacant except for someone who was working on the home and was inside. That person injured and transported to a Boston hospital. They believe no one else was inside the house at the time.
We believe that the house is vacant at this time and that there was one worker working in the building. We can confirm that there is propane tanks that go to the house, but the investigation is still ongoing to find out the cause of the explosion.
And as you heard there, the Greenfield Fire Chief saying they don't yet know the cause of the explosion or fire, but they have ruled out natural gas. Taking a look now at the latest coronavirus numbers in our state. Over the past 2 weeks, the Mass Department of Public Health reporting more than 2,200 new cases today. That brings the total number of confirmed cases in the Bay State to more than 481,000. 85,000 of those are believed to currently be active. The state also seeing 41 more deaths. The statewide death toll now stands at nearly 14,000. Concerns about COVID-19 vaccine supply, prompting questions about the safety of the 2-dose process. Massachusetts continues to open more vaccine sites, but state health officials say they're reliant on whatever the federal government sends them in terms of dosage numbers. Western Mass News reporter Audrey Russo getting answers tonight in Springfield on what you need to know while waiting for a second dose. Audrey?
Both the Moderna and Pfizer vaccines require a waiting period in between the first and second dose. But with state health officials uncertain of the number of vaccine doses they'll be able to get, even at mass vaccination sites like this one coming to Eastfield Mall, it's got some people wondering whether or not it's safe to get that second dose a little bit later than what the drug manufacturers recommend.
For the Pfizer vaccine, that was 21 days later, and for the Moderna vaccine, that was 28 days later.
For those who have yet to get their second dose of the COVID-19 vaccine, news of potential vaccine shortages likely isn't making the waiting process any easier. Robert Roos is the chief medical officer at Mercy Medical Center. He tells Western Mass News those waiting periods are recommended by the researchers.
Those time frames for the first and second dose is what we base the efficacy data on in our recommendations going forward.
In fact, he says the Centers for Disease Control has indicated it's safe to get the booster up to 4 days early, which could help people trying to schedule dose number 2.
They have not given a time frame after the intended time for the second dose as being acceptable, but they just encourage people to get it as close to the regularly scheduled second dose date would be as possible. But if it is delayed, they are not recommending that people need to repeat the vaccine series.
State officials are standing up mass vaccine sites across Massachusetts, including the one in Eastfield Mall in Springfield. They say these sites will have the capacity to vaccinate more people than the number of doses that will likely be made available from the federal government. State officials say the goal is to begin with the capacity to vaccinate 500 a day at these sites, which Roos says will take some of the burden off local healthcare facilities.
Mercy Medical Center, we have the capacity to do about 1,000 a week, which is not nearly enough for the entire community, and it's going to take all of us to contribute to this effort to meet that demand.
For those who are eligible, you can sign up to make an appointment at this mass vaccine site starting tomorrow. The link to the state's website will be on our website, westernmassnews.com. And remember that phase 2 starts next week, and the first category to be prioritized within phase 2 are adults 75 years of age and older. Live in Springfield, Audrey Russo, for Western Mass News.
Audrey, thanks for that live report. New at 6, Boston Health, or rather Bay State Health, will be closing the Mary Lane Outpatient Center in Ware within the next 2 years. President of Bay State and CEO Mark Kerouac tells Western Mass News that nearly half of that location's capacity is unused during the daytime and more than 90% overnight. Kerouac says a majority of these services will be relocated to the Bay State Wing Hospital in Palmer. Next here on Western Mass News, a proposal out of Congress could put some extra money in parents' pockets. We're getting answers.